Most people think their financial future is shaped by big decisions: a career move, a business, an investment, a breakthrough moment. But that's not how it actually happens. Because if you zoom in closely enough, most people don't become financially stable because of what they decided to do. They become financially trapped because of what they stopped questioning. And the dangerous part is this: those decisions never feel like financial decisions while they're happening. They feel like normal life. Until one day, normal life becomes expensive to maintain. There's a moment most people never notice. A decision stops being optional in your mind and becomes standard. A better apartment doesn't feel like a choice anymore. It feels like your level. A car upgrade doesn't feel like spending. It feels like where you are now.
Subscriptions don't feel like purchases. They feel like systems you run your life on. Nothing feels dangerous because nothing feels like a decision anymore. And that's the first shift, because you don't realize when your lifestyle stops being flexible and starts becoming assumed. The real trap isn't spending too much. It's building a life that quietly stops accepting less. Here's what most people misunderstand. Your lifestyle doesn't expand because you suddenly become reckless. It expands because your brain constantly recalibrates what normal means. Every small upgrade resets your baseline. So instead of thinking, can I afford this? You start thinking, does this fit my life now? And once something fits your life, it stops feeling temporary. It becomes part of your identity, which means you're no longer adjusting spending. You're maintaining a version of yourself you already accepted. You don't upgrade your life. You slowly redefine what you're allowed to live with. There's a psychological blind spot here. Your brain doesn't store financial pressure accurately. It stores justification. So years later, when people look back, they don't remember, I was stretched. That felt tight. That was risky. They remember, I needed that. That was the responsible choice. That made sense at the time. Which creates a powerful illusion. If every decision felt justified, then nothing feels like a mistake. And if nothing feels like a mistake, then there's nothing to correct. So the pattern continues quietly. Your memory protects your decisions, even when your future suffers from them. Later in life, something changes. Income becomes less flexible. Responsibilities become fixed. Options stop expanding. And suddenly, earlier normal decisions start behaving differently. Not emotionally, structurally. They require constant maintenance, uninterrupted income, continuous lifestyle support. And that's when people realize something uncomfortable. They didn't just build a life. They built a system that depends on staying exactly where they are. The problem isn't your spending. It's the permanence of your spending decisions. At this stage, most people try to adjust, spend less, cut back, reorganize, but they run into something unexpected. You can't easily shrink a life that other people have already adapted to. Housing creates expectations. Schooling creates commitments. Lifestyle creates routines. Relationships create pressure. So instead of reducing the system, people usually do something else. They increase effort to sustain it. More work, less freedom, delayed retirement, constant financial tension in the background. Not because they failed, but because the structure they built doesn't shrink easily. The hardest part of money isn't earning it. It's maintaining the life your past decisions already built. When you zoom out, something becomes very clear. Financial outcomes are not shaped by big mistakes. They are shaped by accumulated permanence. Small decisions that felt reasonable,
but stayed active far longer than expected, and slowly became your financial baseline. That's the real difference between people who feel free and people who feel constantly behind. Not income, not intelligence, but how much of their life requires things to stay exactly the same. Most people think financial freedom is about earning more, but it's actually about something quieter. How much of your life is flexible enough to survive change? Because life will change. Income will change. Priorities will change.
Circumstances will change. And the real risk isn't making the wrong decision. It's making too many decisions that only work if nothing ever changes. Because in the end, money doesn't just measure wealth. It measures how much of your past is still controlling your present.